Hi guys, let's talk about Erkenci episode 38. Was it the best episode? God no. Did I like the episode? Did it prepare us for the next storyline, like the next stage of Erkenci? Yes. Definitely. So in my opinion, it was more of a transitional episode, not just because of the things that went down behind the scenes, but also because of the things that will happen in Erkenci in the near future. If you want to listen to me talking about the latest news and what I think about everything, stick around. If you're new to this channel, hello and welcome to my weekly Erkenci reviews. If you enjoy these kinds of videos, subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up. And we will meet every Wednesday for an Erkenci review. We only got a little bit of Musa, so what he did this episode was to propose to Güliz, and his proposal was so hilarious. He came to the agency with flowers, with the music box, I think that's what it's called, and then gave her the flowers and was like 3, 2, 1, and then went down on his knee and proposed. Güliz was kind of overwhelmed. Everyone was looking at him, and then she said, well, I need some time to think, and then he just goes away. And Dagan and JJ were really confused because JJ was like, well, she didn't answer, so why did he go? It was so funny. And then he was really happy and told everyone that he is going to have a wedding. He told it to Mevkebe, and Aysen was kind of offended because he didn't go to her first but went to Mevkebe. It was so funny. Then we got Ayhan and JJ, and it was so emotional in my opinion. Like, this episode was more on the sad side, like I said, preparing us for the bad things to happen. So JJ tells Ayhan that Leyla and Emre are married. She gets all angry. What do you mean by that? Oh my god, my poor brother. And then everyone from the neighborhood comes and asks her about that. And of course she feels for her brother. I mean, it's her brother, so I kind of get her anger. You really see that she's on the verge of losing it, on the verge of going crazy if she stays longer in that neighborhood. And there are many more moments where she gets all angry at people. And then there's this moment between her and Sanem. They're talking, and then Sanem apologizes to her for what Leyla did, and she shouldn't be sad about it, and they're friends forever. And the moment that Ayhan said, Sanem, you will always be in here, and put her hand on her heart, I knew that this was kind of a goodbye for Ayhan. And I was more sure of that fact when they kind of filmed the scene from above. Like, you could see Sanem walking away all happy, Ayhan looking after her, waving, crying. It was really emotional. And then the next day, her putting up the sign that she wants to rent out the shop. Mevkebe sees it. It got really emotional. And also when she told JJ that she's going away, and he's like, well, where are you going? Are you meeting up with Osman? How long will you stay? So he didn't really take her that seriously. And then he sees the sign and is all like, oh my god, why are you doing this? It really broke my heart to see JJ that devastated, that sad, and then their hug. It was really heartbreaking. But I almost forgot, there were also a couple of funny scenes with JJ. So he's at the office and everyone is kind of looking at him. He's kind of under pressure. Dagan and Güliz come, ask him if he has any news, and then there's this back and forth kind of a battle between him and Güliz. Güliz kind of brings up Ayhan and he faints, and then he goes to Ayhan and tells her that Leyla and Emre married. And then I think the next day he goes to Dagan and Güliz and is like, I know it, I will marry Ayhan because all those signs speak for it. Everyone is getting married around me, so it means I should get married as well. And then they talk about it. He says that Güliz will for sure marry Musa, and then he kind of encourages Dagan to pursue Yiğit, and that's what she does because she goes to him with 2 cups of coffee. She kind of wants to bring their relationship to the next level, but he interprets it in a different way and kind of hurts her with his answer. Musa. So she gets really fed up and kind of angry and storms out. But Deren's speech kind of ignites something in him, which will lead him to do something, which I will get later too. And now to the main storyline, where Liam and Janem is kind of mixed up together. So at the beginning of the episode, we get to see what actually happened while we saw both mothers racing to get there in time. As I already said in my previous review, they didn't marry, they were just practicing. So Janem was just waiting for Layla and Emre to come back because Layla needed to go to the toilet. In the meantime, Mevkebe and Mama David arrive. Mama David is all, I object, I don't want this to happen, blah blah blah. So you can really see those two sides. Mama David being all against their marriage, and on the other side you have Mevkebe not being against the wedding itself, but more disappointed in Sanem that she didn't tell her that, because she's very traditional. She wanted to be part of that moment, and then they kind of tried to calm them down that they didn't marry, not yet. And then a man comes with the marriage certificate, and Mevkebe and Mama David see it. They're all shocked. Rich uncle comes, he's all like, congratulations. Then there's a small talk between John and rich uncle in Italian. Layla and Emre hear Mama David and Mevkebe. They're like, how did they know this? Why did they come? Blah blah blah. And then they jump out. We get this scene from the trailer where Mevkebe and Mama David faint. And what does rich uncle do? He takes a selfie. So Mevkebe and Mama David end up in the hospital. Then we get this scene from the trailer where Mevkebe was like, Layla, I had this bad dream that you married Emre. And then rich uncle comes with lokum, so Turkish delight, and it's kind of a wedding thing, I believe, because then she puts two and two together, and then she's all shocked and, oh my god, my daughter, why did you do that? He stole you from me, blah blah blah. And then Mama David is like, no, your daughter stole my son from me. And it was just a back and forth, them fighting, rich uncle with his lokum in between them, trying to calm them down, keeping them separated, and then offering them, do you want one, do you want one? Nobody really reacted. And then the doctor comes and rich uncle is like, do you want some? It was so hilarious. And then John is like, we couldn't calm the situation, maybe you can. And the doctor sends everyone away. Rich uncle actually comes back to take a selfie. It was so hilarious. After some time, Mama David gets discharged and she sees Liam sitting there. She says, Emre, take me home, and just wants to go with him. But Emre wants to take Layla with him, but she's like, no, I will wait for my mother, so Mevkebe. Rich uncle comes with coffee for Mama David. She doesn't want it, and he basically leaves Layla with those coffees and just walks with Mama David and Emre. While Layla and Emre are waiting for Mama David and Mevkebe to get discharged, we get to see Janem talking about the situation, being amazed that Liam really took the next step. And Jan is like, well, of course love makes you do anything. And then there is kind of this back and forth, and they end up more like Jan ends up saying, you know what, don't talk about the wedding while everyone is so heated up. In the meantime, Nihat is all worried that Mevkebe still hasn't returned. Rich uncle comes, and in that scene you can really see that rich uncle cares for his brother. It was just cute to see him looking out for him, kind of preparing him for the bad news. Then we see Mama David all exaggerating, being like, oh my god, my head, and John sitting by the fire and not being phased at all. Emre comes and she's like, well, how could you do that? And she's basically blaming John for not stopping Emre, and he's like, how can I stop Emre, because I'm his brother and I want him to be happy. And she's like, well, I also look out for his happiness. And John is like, well, no, you don't think at all, because of your games. We're in this situation. If you wouldn't have done all those things, you would have been by his side, blah blah blah. And then she's like, Emre, do you really think that way? And Emre is like, well, John didn't mean it that way, but basically saying, yes, I want to say the same thing, but kind of in a different package. And she gets all angry and devastated. Well, then I won't say anything anymore, I will leave, being all over dramatic. And then she packs up her bags, and then she comes out being like, I will call a taxi. And before she actually comes out, Emre is like, well, now she's leaving. And John is like, don't worry about it, she won't leave, that's just one of her games. And it was so hilarious, because then she's like, oh my god, I'm getting dizzy. Oh, like being a drama queen. Emre gets all worried. John is like, oh my god, once again, like, you're a big actress, you should be on stage acting, blah blah blah. I really loved that scene. And then she's like, Emre, can you get me a glass of water? He goes, and then as soon as he leaves, she looks, and then she's like, like, it didn't work. I have to come up with a new plan. And I'm like, oh man, woman, seriously. Then we get to see the Aydin side, so Mevkebe laying there with the blood pressure meter, and then you hear it whenever she gets all riled up, all angry. You can really hear the beeping sound. It was so hilarious. She was more worried, how is she going to tell Nihat, because she went through this whole situation once before with Can and Sanem. And then they hear Nihat coming in, and oh my god, Nihat and his speeches, he knows what to say in the right moment, and for the other person to understand that he was deeply hurt. That's what happened in that scene. First, Mevkebe is playing it all down, and then he's like, just shut up, Mevkebe. And she knows in that moment, okay, how did you get the news? You see rich uncle coming in. She's asking him, did you tell him? He's just like that, and she's like, oh my god. And then Nihat starts his speech, and I got so emotional. And he asks, my firstborn, my girl, how could you do that? Were we such bad parents that you didn't want us to be by your side, that you didn't allow us to see you walk out the door as a bride? It was just so heartbreaking, that speech. Anyways, Layla is all devastated. She tries to make it up to them. So the next day she tries to talk to Mevkebe, but Mevkebe is like, you know what, you two always do whatever you want, don't ask me anymore, do whatever you want. She's still not over it. And one thing that I've noticed is that Mevkebe is more hurt than Nihat for what Layla did. But when the whole Canem situation took place, Nihat was more hurt than Mevkebe. So you could really see them, and that was clear from the first episode, that Nihat had like a soft spot for Sanem, and Mevkebe had a soft spot for Layla, and that's what you could really see in this scene as well. Anyways, Can comes to Nihat with Emre, trying to apologize, trying to talk to Nihat. At first Nihat was like, what do you want to talk about? It's all in the past, you're married now, but did you ask us? Did you keep the tradition? Blah blah blah. It was just so emotional once again. Like, Nihat and speeches are just like 10 out of 10. Anyways, Emre kept apologizing. He's very, very sorry for hurting them, but he would never hurt Layla. Can kind of emphasized it. Can was kind of the person, whenever Emre didn't know what else to do or what to say, Can jumped in. Then Nihat was kind of getting softer, and then Can turned around and said, well, kiss his hand. It was so hilarious. And then he went up to Nihat, asked him if he would allow him to kiss his hand. Nihat gives his hand. Can calls Sanem. They meet up. Emre tells Layla that he apologized to Nihat, that he accepted it. In the meantime, Mama David and Yeet meet up. I think I have to come up with a new name for those two, because Polen was replaced by Yeet. So it's either Ima or Humid. I'll stick with Humid. So Humid has a meeting where Mama David is kind of venting about this whole situation. Yeet actually tells her that Sanem called him and told him that Can is kind of postponing the wedding. While he was talking to Sanem, he got all happy, and I was like, man, like, know your place. Anyways, he tells Mama David this information. She gets all happy about it, tells him that Sanem just thinks that she loves Can, but she doesn't, and that they don't fit together, and she will realize that in the near future, and that she has a plan. And she's like, well, I will show her what it's like to be my daughter-in-law, and if she still dares to marry Can, I'm done with it, blah blah blah. Gets all angry. And then she tells Yi he should give Layla a lot of work so she wouldn't be able to spend time with Emre. And then Yeet is like, well, I don't want to interfere in anyone's relationship, and that the only thing he can help her with is just to chat and have coffee with her. And then when she walks out, can you tell Emre congratulations? And she's like, well, I can tell Emre, but soon you have to congratulate Canem, and it won't be that easy for you. So she's planting those seeds, those evil seeds inside his brain, and they're blooming very quickly, I'm telling you that. And then during the Lay and Janem meet up, Mama David calls and is like, well, Emre, I want to solve this problem with Mifkebe. Call them, we should meet up, blah blah blah. But she has this evil plan. Sound like woman. Anyways, Emre is all excited, as is Layla. Then we get to see them all together. Can kind of initiating the conversation, and then Mama David starts talking and is like, well, I came with good intentions, and Mifkebe is like, well, I hope no dirty tricks come out of your good intentions. It was just so funny. And then Mama David is like, well, now that they're married, her place is next to her husband, blah blah blah, and they should live together. Mifkebe is not really amused by the fact that her daughter is living with her mother-in-law, and she looks at Nihat. Nihat is contemplating, but then he agrees with it. Everyone is happy, and rich uncle takes a celebratory selfie once again, and you should really stop that frame and look at each person individually. Like, Liam is very happy. Mama David is all like, I don't know, like she still has that evil plan. Sanem is all like, look at me next to Mama David, like all cool. Nihat is more like, oh, let's get it over with. Mifkebe is really forced, like, It was so hilarious. Jan is all cool as always, and I think that's all. Janem comes out of the house, Layla and Emre come. There's this huge goodbye between Layla, Mifkebe and Nihat, and she's like, well, don't be sad, please don't cry, I'm not going far away. So it was really emotional, but that emotional scene kind of changed very quickly as soon as Mifkebe gave Layla the list, what she has to do before a wedding. And Sanem is like, they're married now, what's the point in that list anymore? And Mifkebe is like, no, if you don't do that, I will force you, because we're very traditional and you have to do all those things. And then Jan tells Emre that he should also go up to Mifkebe and Nihat, kiss their hands, say goodbye, blah blah blah. It was just very funny. And then when Layla and Emre go to the car, Mama David wants to sit in the passenger seat, but Layla actually goes in. It was so hilarious to see her all shocked and being like, what are you doing? And so she has to sit in the back now. Janem goes to Emre's car. I was confused when I saw the preview, like, why is Janem in Emre's car? But now it makes sense, because Layla had all her suitcases with her. They couldn't fit in Emre's car, so they kind of switched cars. Then we get the preview where there's this debate on whether Jan has a family car or a sports car. We also get to see Liam and Mama David giving Layla her type of list, that she needs to have dance lessons because a member of the David family has to know how to dance. I was like, oh my god, like, she's a nightmare. She's not a mother-in-law, she's more like a monster-in-law. When they arrive at home, Mama David is like, well, guys, take the suitcases, put them in your room, blah blah blah. Let the girls sit here and we'll have a chat. Salim tries to small talk and then asks Layla, well, where do you want to live, like in what area? And then Mama David is like, it should be an area that suits the name David. It can't be in a neighborhood. Like, basically describing their neighborhood, saying that they're only uneducated, stupid people, like really talking badly about such a neighborhood, and it was really degrading. And then Jan and Emre come back and are like, well, what are you talking about? And then she switches instantly and is like very smiley and nice and a different topic, and I'm like, like, what a snake. Then we have Janem and Liam in Liam's room. They talk about the lists, blah blah blah. In the meantime, Yeet calls Sanem that he needs Layla, so he's basically following Mama David's plan, because that happens after Daran's chat. So that seed that was planted by Mama David popped up and bloomed while Daran was having her conversation, or more like monologue, you could say, because Yi didn't really answer. Sanem tells Layla that she has to go to the office because Yi needs her, because he doesn't want to disturb her while she's on her honeymoon with Emre, blah blah blah. Mama David gets all excited and is like, Jan and Sanem know you the best, so they should work through the list. And that's what we see. We see Janem looking for a house or a flat, I don't know what it was, was. It was all cute, but then they had this debate. Can wants a big TV, Sanem wants a bookshelf, and then he's like, well, there are many more rooms where you can have a library, and she's like, no, these are the rooms of the children. And he's like, oh my god, now you start with the children. And that was the moment where I was like, okay, this is it. That's the start of their breakup. That's the start of their disagreements. Then their next disagreement was, where should Liam go on honeymoon? Sanem wants somewhere at the seaside, relaxing. Can wants to go somewhere with a caravan, climbing mountains, volcanoes, just the complete opposite. Then we have the adorable Layla Sanem conversation where Sanem is like, well, I will go home and you won't be there, and she gets all emotional because now Layla won't live there anymore. Then we get this cute, romantic, adorable surprise Emre prepared for Layla. So a real proposal, because everything moved so fast, he couldn't really propose to Layla, and that's what he does now, and it was so adorable. Seeing the engagement ring, I'm like, Emre, you did amazing. I mean, Eileen's engagement ring was kind of tacky and but this engagement ring, I was like, 10 out of 10. I really do hope that in the future when Can would propose once again to Sanem and she will finally say yes, we will finally get the wedding, but really far in the future, I really do hope that Sanem will get a real nice engagement ring. I know that she has one at the moment, I know that, but for me it's more like a promise ring. It has a sentimental meaning to it, but I really want a real engagement ring for Sanem, one like Layla has. Then we have Mama David giving Emre a lot of folders that he has to work through, basically keeping him occupied. So Can is like, don't worry about it, do your work, I will go down, take Sanem, and we will work through the list. As soon as he goes down, there's a conversation between Layla and Sanem where Sanem is like, well, I'm really scared of everything, kind of questioning it, because she says, well, he postponed it, and I'm really scared of Mama David. I mean, how can you live with such a woman? Basically, her main thing is that she's scared of Mama David. Can listens to this whole conversation. I really felt bad for him. He goes up, tells Emre everything. Emre is like, well, don't be like that, and your love really was the motivation or the reason why he took the step with Layla. So Can shouldn't be this sad and shouldn't give up, basically. Then Layla gets more work, so she asks Sanem if she can go. Sanem is like, of course, I will go get Can. She goes up, she talks a little bit with JJ. Mama David sees it and has this conversation with Daren where she's like, well, Can told Emre that he's afraid of this whole wedding thing, just planting those negative seeds in her brain. So she walks up to his office, she hears Emre and Can talking, Can being like, well, what is all this traditional thing, it's so stupid. Emre is like, well, yes, they are kind of, but Layla doesn't want to upset her mother and I don't want her to be upset, so we have to do it. And then they're in this henna shop and Can wants to pay. Sanem is like, no, this is a bride's thing to do, and they kind of start fighting over this thing, and he's like, you know what, I'm over it, just go and pay. And one thing that I was like, oh my god, this is kind of a deja vu of this pizza box gate, because when he held the pizza box like that, oh my god, this time he held all those bags like a flower bouquet, like it was all round. It wasn't like how you would normally hold a bag, a shopping bag. He was holding it upside down, kind of. Oh my god, I was like, good god. After that, we get Sanem trying to find inspiration, trying to calm down kind of and start writing her novel. But she can't because she keeps thinking about what Can said, what Mama David said about Can. Same goes for Can thinking about what he heard Sanem telling Layla. So they're both questioning the other person. Then we get this whole Yi Sanem conversation where she tells him, well, she has writer's block and she doesn't know what to do. And what disappointed me was that they used the Can Disney music. They used it in that scene with Yeet, and I was like, you can't betray me like that. That's specifically reserved for Can. I don't want to see Yeet. Anyways, he has a good point, but after she walks away, he has this smirk, and I'm like, oh my god, Yeet, you're turning evil. So Sanem walks up, wants to talk to Can about this whole situation. In the meantime, Deren asks Can to be a model for this whole campaign. Can isn't very considering it, but then Sanem comes in. Deren asks for her help. She says, well, of course, Can looks amazing. How could he not be a model? And then Can is like, well, who's the bride? And Deren turns to Sanem. So we get to see them as bride and groom like we saw in the trailer. JJ is also there at the photo shoot. He takes a picture of Canem and sends it to Ayhan. Sanem is very stiff because it's her first photo shoot. Can's method to loosen her up is to kiss her and then she lets loose and they take pictures. Anyways, JJ sent the picture. The moment Ayhan sees it is the moment where Mevkebe sees Ayhan with the rent sign in her hand. Mevkebe sees the picture. She's like, oh my god, not my other daughter as well. And then they have this FaceTime conversation. It was so hilarious. Canem desperately trying to convince Mevkebe that it's just a photo shoot. And then she's like, okay, when she calmed down, you could see Nihat in the background and he gets all worked up. Mevkebe tries to calm him down and he faints. It was so hilarious. Sanem gets all angry. How could JG send a picture to Ayhan? Can is like, you know what, go to the neighborhood, solve the problem. And that's when Ayhan tells JJ that she will leave. Then we see Canem in a different outfit. Sanem is like, well, did you see the reaction? Thank God this wasn't real. And then he's like, if you don't want to have a wedding, just tell me. And that's where their fight starts. So there's a back and forth. And then at the end, Can is like, you know what, you should be alone. Listen to your inner voice and then tell me your answer if you still want to marry me or not. And that's the end. Now to Alex's predictions for episode 39. So in the preview, we get Sanem being on Can's terrace, trying to write her novel, him coming, them looking at each other, Mama David watching them, and then Sanem is like, well, I get all sidetracked when you look at me. She wants to walk away, but she trips and he catches her. And that's kind of a deja vu for me, because them looking at each other, not looking at each other, it's from, I don't remember which episode it was, but it was when she had this kind of blue, not really tank top on, but she had to still work for the company even though she wanted to leave. And he was in the kitchen watching her doing things with the pen here and with her hair, and she did the same when he was sitting next to her. That's the sign that the old writer is back. So we had Aslı Zengin from episode 18 to episode 38. Now we have the queen Ayşe Kutlu back. We had her from episode 1 to episode 17 and now from episode 39 onward. And you could really see that she's back, that's her style. Before I started filming this review, we got a new trailer. We got Canem all happy together and him picking her up. He tells Sanem that he talked to an American publishing company, whatever, and that they're interested in Sanem's book. And she's all happy about it and they hug and he buries his head in her hair, neck, whatever, this region here, and Gigi comes, sees it, starts screaming. It was so funny, and that was kind of a deja vu of the moment where Sanem told him that her and Can are together, where he lost his mind, screamed and ran through Can's garden. So it was really nice to see those nods towards the older episodes. And then he's like, that's not how you hug a friend, to bury yourself like this. You hug a friend plain like this. It was so hilarious. And then we have Canem dressing up for the wedding and her asking him to zip her up, and he's like, well, I can't do this. What if I don't want to, because that's on my mind. So we get a little bit of naughty Can. It was, oh my god, I'm so excited for this episode because we finally get the old writer back, the queen, the one who made us fall in love with Canem, with Erkenci, and I'm so happy for it. So I really trust this woman that she will make this series so much better. What I think is going to happen next, Canem will kind of make up, but there will be a big Canem breakup, a big shock at the end of the episode. I'm sure of it. We get the amazing Liam wedding. I've seen a couple of behind the scenes pictures and it looks so beautiful. Then we will have Ayhan saying goodbye. So that's all I can save for next episode. Now to the news. So I have to kind of read it off here. So we will have to say goodbye to Güliz, Ayhan and Aysun. I mean, Aysun was kind of there but not really necessary like she was at the beginning. Güliz, I don't really understand it, but because I know that the company will be bankrupt, it kind of makes sense because she was only a secretary there. Then it says that the whole team of Fikri Harika, so John's company, will leave. Does this mean we have to say goodbye to Deren as well? Because I don't want that to happen. I still have high hopes and I see a bright future for her. I really want to kind of bring the old team back so everyone will scatter around, find a new job, but then I want to see them after a couple of episodes. I want to see them all come back together. So Emre, Can, building up a new company, bringing back JJ, Deren, maybe Musa will work there as a marketing manager. So I really want to see the old team with Sanem together building up this amazing company. So that will be amazing. Then it says that Can will lose most of his money. Can and Sanem will meet again after 1 year. Sanem will try to help Can financially, but Can will not accept it. Of course, he's too proud of it. And then it also says that the love between them is expected to grow and become much stronger. I wasn't expecting anything else, but I really like this kind of social switch. So Sanem is now the rich person in their relationship when they're going to have a relationship, and Can is more like the poorer person on the simple side. I really like that. I really like the idea and where it's going. And I've read a lot of people complaining about, oh my god, this time jump, I don't want to watch it anymore, blah blah blah. Where I'm like, they need new topics, they need new things, a new storyline for it to continue. And I'm really excited that they made this 1 year time jump, because now we will get to see a more mature, a more confident Sanem. Of course, we will get to see a more mature Canem relationship, and they will butt heads. Oh my god, and I'm so here for it. What I'm trying to say is just stay positive. Don't be like, man, I don't want to watch it anymore because it doesn't follow my imagination or where I want the story to go. You should just enjoy this series. That's what it's here for. You should enjoy it. Enjoy the ride, be positive. And if you don't like an episode, like I didn't really like this episode, I'm not mad about it. I just see it as a transitional episode, a chance for them to prepare us for a new Erkenci Kuş stage of a new storyline. I don't know, I don't really have the need to send all those actors and the whole team negative comments. Of course, if there's something to critique and if it's constructive, be my guest. But if you are very harsh and being like, I won't ever watch Erkenci Kuş because it's not what I imagined, well, how many times were my predictions wrong? And I'm still here, I'm still enjoying this series. I love it so much, and I get excited week after week to see where the story, where the journey is taking me. Oh my god, my battery is flashing, so my camera is telling me, Alex, you talked way too much and this video is getting way too long and nobody is going to watch it. So long story short, don't be so negative, just enjoy the ride of Erkenci Kuş. Now that we got our old beloved writer Aisha back, just give her a chance to put the story back on its tracks and just enjoy the ride, be positive and give the story a chance. That's all I want to say. So yeah, I hope I said everything I wanted to say, didn't forget anything. If you're still watching this, thank you for sticking around. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, leave me a comment down below what your thoughts are and everything on this whole situation. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already to see weekly Erkenci Kuş reviews, and I will see you next time. Bye!